Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Plot Mark, and welcome to earGROUND, New Voices Amplified. I'm going to be speaking not to a new voice, but to one of the big voices when it comes to hip hop music. This is a voice that connects to some deep legacy when you're talking about Zimbabwean music. I'll be speaking to Draze, real name Dumisani Maraire Jr. Hello, Dumi.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking time to be on earGROUND and to speak to us. It's an honor to have you on the program.
Thank you, man. It's good to be here and be able to talk to my people. You know what I mean? Our people.
Great, great, great. And to a lot of Zimbabweans, when they hear the name Dumisani Maraire, it takes them back to a legend. May his soul rest in peace. Your dad, a man who exported the Zimbabwean sound, who refined and defined the traditional Zimbabwean sound. And there is no way we can talk about Zimbabwean music without the mentioning of your father's name. Just tell us a bit about the legacy, what that legacy means to you, and what sort of influence that had in terms of your musical upbringing.
Um, Man, musically, that legacy is everything. You know what I mean? I learned from my father everything I know about music. My earliest memories of music were me being a little kid in Seattle, Washington, right? So I was born in Seattle, and then I moved to Zimbabwe, lived there in Dangamvura, and
Oh, really? Okay, great.
so I lived there, and then I came back to Seattle. Still as a kid, I came back in like the first grade, right? So I was still very young. But when I lived when I finally came back to Seattle, I remember going to, as a young kid, going to these performances, and there's these packed out halls, right? And it's all white people just dancing and going
Yeah,
crazy, right? And my father was on stage, and my mother were on stage, and my dad's playing marimbas. You know what I mean? And it like a lot of people in Zimbabwe, they know, but they didn't necessarily experience. It was a revolution. It was a movement that, to this day, across America, there are marimba bands um, and people playing mbira, and all of this was because of my father's legacy. So I grew up in a home where that's what we did every day, all day. You know what I mean? Um, and my mother and father tried to give me that as a kid because it was like, what can we give you of your culture, right? And so that became one of the most important things in my family. I've traveled the world all because of this legacy that my father left. So learning from him, learning his concepts, the way he thinks, the way he performs, the way the music, the way he creates music, all of that is kind of the backbone of how I come into music.
great. And you are a hip hop artist.
Yeah.
And a lot of hip hop heads somehow shy away from their tradition or their legacy and their culture. And uh, possibly a lot of people would have thought that you're going to be also a very like traditional musician, playing the mbira, playing the marimba. Why hip hop? And what does hip hop represent, or in terms of your connectivity to the hip hop culture and also the traditional culture that your father stood for?
Well, man, there was a lot in there. That was loaded. I first off, you don't choose where you're born. You don't choose where you live as a kid. I was born in Seattle. That's where I was born, right? And so, while I'm at home and my parents might be playing the Boonda Boys or Thomas Mafumo or all of these different records, when I go to school, we're listening to hip hop, right? It's America, it's the hood, right? We're not living in some fancy rich house when we're kids. We're living in the hood. And so who I grew up, the kids I play with, it was around hip hop. So music is universal, right? And I love music. I love all types of music, gospel music, R&B music, hip hop, all these things. But I just gravitated towards hip hop because I think I had a gift as a writer. You know what I mean? I could write lyrics and having a strong pen game. But at the same time, you still love what is traditional, right? So I think I chose hip hop. I always say hip hop chose me. It's what, you know,
Great.
um, I think it's what God wanted me to do. You know what I mean? To pick up a pen and to start doing hip hop. So that part of the equation was really easy. Just do hip hop. But trying to make sense of that and the traditional, like I'm always looking at in Zimbabwe, you know what I mean, kids doing different styles of hip hop, right? And I wish they would do something a little bit more traditional. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Often when I'm listening to somebody in Zimbabwe, it sounds like they're from Atlanta or LA or something like that. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah,
Um, and so I try to create music. I mean, I don't. I always impress people in hip hop to do what's real to them. Do what's real. Do what is really authentically you, and that's what I try to do. So
great. And I mean, which artists were you listening to growing up? What sort of influence, like, who was influencing you from the hip hop side?
just period. Oh man, Andre 3000, Biggie, Pac,
Yeah,
Jay-Z. You know, I love Jay-Z. That's probably, to me, he's probably the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
Tupac and him, it'd be like one of those two. I love real lyricists. Right now, I would probably listen to J. Cole, Kendrick, people like that. Like I love Drake. Drake's dope. I can't front on him. You know what I mean? Like the boy, he can go. So all of those rappers, you know, to me, it's about skill and talent. I'm not really into like the bubblegum rap, you know, mumble rap, all that.
yeah.
I don't disrespect it. You know what I mean? I get it. People do it, but I'm a lyricist, and so I really love lyricists. Anybody who, you know what I mean? You got to be saying something if you want me to pay attention. So
Ah, great, great. And let's talk a bit about your music. You have done quite a number of projects, and some that have really done so well. And your music has a lot of deep lyricism. There's a lot of consciousness in
yeah,
your content. You know, somehow a bit political and very expressive. But like you just mentioned now, a lot of the young generation of hip hop heads, they are more focused on the bling and on possibly like the trap and the cooler kind of hip hop. You know, um, do you find this scenario is sort of eroding the foundation and the basis of hip hop, what hip hop stands for, like the new generation, the new type of hip hop that we see today?
no, I don't think any of that erodes hip hop. At the end of the day, hip hop has always had that a part of it. And that's cool for hip hop. That's a part of it. Like we do like to bling. Like we like to turn up. We like to
Yeah,
kick it. What I think happens is you have the industry, you have one style of hip hop, and then the industry comes in and then it starts mass producing one type of hip hop. And
yeah,
then that starts to erode it, right? When you start to a lot of times you have people who really aren't that talented who kind of lock in on an easier style and then that gets mass produced and you have random guys just in their basement like yo I want to be a rapper, you know what I mean, like they might create a rap app or something, you know what I mean, and then the guy starts rapping and
yeah,
you know 6 weeks later he's got a hit single and you know what I mean, and he's packing out halls and it's just like yo this dude is not an artist, you know.
yeah,
So when we move away from artistry, that's always an issue. With me creatively, I'm always trying to push the bar. I've done so many different things. Like years ago, I created something called a mixtape movie, right?
oh,
Never been
awesome,
done
yeah,
in hip hop, right? So I created mixtape movies. I did them at the 4040 Club in New York. That's Jay-Z's club. They opened it
yeah,
up to me, let me debut it there. Um, my last album, where often I'm creating music with a live band, right? It's not just chopping up samples, but I'm always giving you something different, right? I'm always trying to push and innovate and drive the culture forward. Um, my belief is that if you're trying to sound like somebody else and do what everybody else is doing, then why would
yes,
I need you, right? Like we don't need another Ti. We don't need another, anybody, right? We don't need another Cardi B right now, right? We already have Cardi B. We need somebody else, and so I'm never really finding myself trying to sound like or be like somebody else because
yes.
then why would you want me, right? You could just go get, who wants to, you know what I mean? Who wants to counterfeit when you can get the real thing?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And talking about counterfeit and talking about OG, um, you have mentioned the Bundu Boys, you've mentioned Oliver Mtukudzi and Thomas Mapfumo. as some of the music that you grew up listening to, and now Zimbabwean hip hop. Do you get any of the sound or the music that's coming from Zimbabwe? Do you know certain artists? Do you connect to some artists from Zimbabwe?
You know what, man? I know some of the artists, not a lot of hip hop though. You know what I mean? Like I said, let me say this. When it comes to hip hop, I think, and I don't think I've seen it all. So I can only speak to what I've seen, right? But what has come to me, a lot of it is more, like I said, it's always trying to sound like America, right? Or trying to sound like California or New York or Atlanta. And I just be like, you have to know, to somebody over in America, they're going, well, why would I want that out of you when I have that here? I have the real thing, right? And Americans are actually looking to Africans of all different cultures. They're looking to Zimbabweans going, show me your culture. Like, give me you. The reason why Atlanta, trap music, we know trap music now, right? The reason trap music blew up is because it was Atlanta. It wasn't, I'm on the West Coast, right? So I'm over here with Snoop and Dre and, you know, West Coast and Sea Walking. That was West Coast, right? So I'm from the West Coast. When we heard Atlanta, we was like, yo, that's dope. They took hip hop and made it into their own thing. And then that became interesting, right? So for me, it's deflating often when I'll hit somebody and they sound just like, you know, I understand being influenced. There's a part to it, but I'm like, yo, like, you know, I'm not mad at it, but I kind of wish you would, you know, flip something that feels a little more Zimbabwean, right? Like, are you speaking Shona in it, or give us something, right? Give us something that feels, whether it's your melody, your sounds, and those types of things. So I say to Zimbabwean artists, embrace your culture, embrace who you are. That's going to be the most appealing thing to anybody around the world, because the world right now is hungry for difference. It's hungry for somebody doing what they do. But most of the stuff I get, in all honesty, to answer your second part, most of the music that I get from Zimbabwe at this point, it's more singers, right? So, you know, Winky D, Job Praiser, Andy Murizo, shout out to him. Like, we holler, we talk a lot. Roki, you know, so I'm tapped in, you know what I mean? I'm tapped into a bunch of the artists, you know what I mean? And I talk with folks. They're hip to me, I'm hip to them. We have conversations. I've tried to create, a lot of people don't know, I write music for television, right?
Oh,
So
okay, great.
I've written, in 2019, I wrote over 100 songs that were placed on television. That's The Masked Singer, Empire, NBA TV.
Wow.
Man, I was on like pretty much every show. Like, there's not a week that goes by that I'm not writing a song for television that's being used, right? And so for me, that's how I started paying the bills. I know a ton of people who make music, but they can't pay rent, right? Like, even in America, it doesn't matter. Musicians are broke around the world. And so I had to create a lane for me to make music. And I was like, you know, I had an opportunity to write for a commercial. I did a commercial for Speedo. Then for Black Friday, I did one for Sony PlayStation. And it just started going and going. And then I was nominated for writing the best hip hop track on television last year, right? So all these opportunities have allowed me to be able to make money off of music, right? And then it allows me to do the other stuff that I want to do. So most of my people I know that are in music here in LA. So I live in California, and everybody I know who's doing music, besides, if you don't have a record deal, everybody, like, they have a job. You know what I mean? So you do music, but you go to your job 9 to 5. I'm one of the few people who does music 24 hours a day because I've been blessed to be able to have some doors open. So I said all that to say I've been trying to open some doors for some Zimbabweans as well, um, to give them a platform to be on. Like, right now, we're writing and working on some stuff for the new Power show, right?
Okay.
So 50 Cent show Power, they're rolling out a new show, so we're creating music right now for that, right? So there's always something different, and I don't, I'm trying to create opportunities, because for Zimbabweans, that would open the door and give them a bridge into America, right? So now you can tour, come over here and still do what you're doing. And maybe you do another 30, 40 shows. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah, I
good
get
money.
you.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I know some of the Zimbabwean artists. I don't know them all. I'm always listening. If somebody sends me something, I'll listen. It could be a stranger. It could be,
Yeah.
you know, people hit me online all the time in my inbox and like, yo, check this out. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna check it out and see what you're doing. You know what I mean? And see if it's hot. And I'm always open to collaborations if it's, if it makes sense.
Great, great. And still on that, like this year, last year up until like now, there's been a sort of a major shift in Zimbabwe. In the past year, Zim dance was sort of like the mainstream pop culture, but right now hip hop is sort of taking over. They're rallying under the theme for the culture, and a lot of stuff that has happened is actually pointing to a very positive direction. There's a guy called T Gons. I don't know if you know T Gons.
I don't.
Okay, T Gons is like the the top artist when it comes not only to hip hop, but is one of the top Zimbabwean artists at the moment. He had like a near death experience last year. He turned it around, and now like he's really on top of the game. And he has won just 2 days ago. He won at the National Arts Merit Award. He won at the Zimbabwe Music Awards. He won at the Star FM Awards. He's literally been sweeping like all the major awards. He's collaborated in just 1 year with more than um, 30 artists, and they've done like so many hits. And this is sort of a turning point for Zimbabwean hip hop. But his hip hop is mainly in vernacular. He's doing a lot of conscious hip hop in vernacular, and I think is really somebody that you should also check out. But um, the you've talked about the opportunities that are there in the States. Is there an interest from hip hop artists from that end to actually collaborate and work with artists that are working in Africa, mainly Zimbabwe?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Anybody who's dope always has an opportunity. I think it's just about dopeness now. Any artist here would love to work with any artist anywhere if they think it's dope. And then obviously people are always looking for cross pollination, right? Can you expose them to Zimbabwean audiences and they can expose you to American audiences? It's hard because every artist thinks different. Like there's some people who just do numbers where all they care about is, oh, how many followers do you
How
have,
many
right?
followers do you have? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gonna matter to that person, right? To the next person, something else like might matter. It really just depends on the person. Every artist is different. I know some artists who get it, who might just want to jump in. You're seeing more collaborations between African and African American artists.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of it in 2019. I think you'll see more in
That's true.
2020.
That's true.
I know Rick Ross did the song with Yemi. We know that Omarion did a song with Tiwa Savage. So
Yes,
there's a
that's
lot of
yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of that starting to happen. Drake and Kid, all of those things are happening, but it just has to make sense, I think. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of opportunity, I say, for African or Zimbabwean artists over here. You know what I mean? But it's all about finding an inroad in. And if you're sitting around waiting on Drake, you're wasting your time. You know what I mean? You need to. There's a ton of artists here, right? There's hundreds of artists here who have Shine and Bubble and who can go knock on the door at Double XL, and you know what I mean. And so if that's what you want, then I just say reach out and start making the collaborations and have something to offer. To be honest, it's a give and take. You know.
That's great. That's great. And talking about your music, what can we be expecting? What can we expect in the near future? What are you working on 2020? Do you have any new works? We've seen a lot of videos from you. I'm going to share a couple of links for those that have not seen a bit of your music. But what are you working on this year?
New album coming out. So I just released a single. I got on my shirt right here. I got to show the people.
Okay.
I got
Secure the bag and buy black and invest, build black world. Okay, great.
that's
Interesting.
all right. So my I just released a single called Building Black Wealth. And it's the first release off of my upcoming album that's coming in the next month or two. Um, the single features me playing mbira, right?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so it's me really kind of it's a vibe, you know what I mean? And just trying to give them something that felt real Shona to me. My entire album is going to be a mixture of for the most part, what I feel like is a traditional Zimbabwean sound mixed together with hip hop. I'm creating a sound that I call ancestral art, right? So it's really, really different. I think the way forward is back. When I look at hip hop, so African music is starting to bubble here in the States, right? But it's really only Afrobeat, right? If I'm being honest, it's just Afrobeat. Well, when I was in Zimbabwe, I've been to Zimbabwe several times. We weren't listening to Afrobeat for years, right? It was we listened to Bob Marley. That was the
Yeah,
closest we got to
true,
something a
true.
little different. But I'm saying, my point is, there's so much more to Africa than Afrobeat. And remember, I said it earlier, the industry in America will grab one thing and then just
To
do it.
hype it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's about money, it's capital. Ooh, we can make money off Africans this way. Let's make money, 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 money. And I'm like, nah, there's so much more to Africa, and we're not gonna let y'all pimp our culture. So I want to bring the marimbas and the mbira and a complete sound, something completely different, right? So I'm creating something no one's done. I haven't heard this sound anywhere. There might be somebody in Zimbabwe doing it. I haven't heard it. I definitely haven't heard it on a world stage. So that my new album is coming out. I'm collaborating with quite a few. I don't want to say no names yet, but there's
Okay.
some of the artists that we talked about that are big. Some
Yes.
even from Zimbabwe will be on the album, and then some from throughout Africa.
Yeah.
The album is titled African American because I feel like that's what I am. I embody that, right, in a different way, right? Like full-blooded Zimbabwean, growing up in a home where we're eating sadza and greens every day.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm going out and my friends are eating burgers and macaroni and cheese. You know, and so we lived two completely different lifestyles, right? And
Yes.
then watching in the hood as all these cats would come to my house. So all my partners
Yes.
would come over and they fell in love with Zimbabwean food. To this day, they're like, yo, man, can we get some sadza? I was like, man, you don't even know what that is, bro. So uh yeah, yeah. So just kind of having that experience. But I'm excited for this album. It's gonna be really, really dope. I want Zimbabwe to get behind it. This is like
Yeah.
an opportunity on the world stage for our music to be out front, right?
True, true.
Um, and and I really do want to create opportunities for other people. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's not just I'm not the dude who just wants to make music. No, I really want to make music and touch Zimbabweans. I really want to I want our culture to permeate the world. And then I also want to bring it back and try to create opportunities and jobs in Zimbabwe. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, what does it mean? I'm looking at Zimbabwe now going, what do we need? What can I
Yes.
do to help? Right. And I'm talking to so many other Zimbabweans between Seattle, LA, and we're all starting to think and go, what can we do to go back home to create opportunities for people like you? Like, what do we need? TV stations? What do we
Yes.
entertainment wise? My sister, Danai
Yeah.
runs,
Yeah. Kulira.
yeah, no, my sister, Danai Maraire.
Oh,
So
Dana Maraire. Okay.
yeah, so she runs something called the Black Marriage Movement. So she works for BET, E Entertainment, all these different things. She runs the Black Marriage Movement. She's an entertainment force, right? So what does it look like for us to bring all of this back and create opportunities for people to get jobs in
Yeah.
Zimbabwe? Number one, well-paying jobs, right? Because
True.
people need
True.
money, and then create industry and get Zimbabwe right back where it's supposed to be. Like we supposed to be running this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So we're gonna do it. Yeah.
Great. But I mean, talking about that, you are based in the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
Yes. There is a huge tech industry there, and now internet. This is actually the Silicon Valley, where the Silicon Valley is. And looking at that now, music distribution has been disrupted by internet, by technology, and mega institutions that are running music distribution have sort of taken over. Um, how has been or how is the experience there in the States? Because right now in Zimbabwe, for an artist, when they release music, they put it on iTunes, they put it on YouTube, they put it on Spotify. Some make money, some don't make money, depending with the kind of audience that they attract. But in the States, how is music distribution like, especially hip hop music? How do people get their music? In Zimbabwe, WhatsApp is a major player when it comes to distribution of music.
Really?
Yeah, WhatsApp. People distribute music through WhatsApp and other file sharing platforms, and a lot of it is distributed for free. So no one is really making money. They make money when they get shows, not necessarily from the sales, except a few that really manage to get good numbers online that they're able to monetize.
So here in America, the all of them, the music is just streaming. That's it right now. Like streaming is it. It's everything. If your music is on Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, those are kind of the major ones. Amazon has a streaming service. It's all about streaming services here. When we hop in the car now, I got my phone right here. I just pull out, you pull up your Tidal, plug up your phone and just drive, because it just gives you access to everything in the world. I'm able to listen to African artists because of that, right? I don't have to go buy your album. All I have to do is click your name in and press play. So that's the way we move. We listen to music. The way we get music is going to be playlists. Television shows, like I said, is a big deal now, because you're watching television, you hear something, and then you just go to your phone and you look it up. You're like, well, what song was that? Who was that? Right? Or you wait for the credits at the end of the show. You see the person's name, you type it in, you add it to your playlist, and the next time you're in the car, you listen to it, or you listen to it right there at home. So television shows is a big way, and then it'll always be people sharing and DJs and stuff like that. If you're in groups where people talk about music and stuff, that will always be a big part of the music culture any and everywhere. But for the most part, the way we get our music is going to be streaming services. New Music Friday is a big deal in America, right? So every day there's like cult followings of people who like get up and, they go to find music every single Friday. I'm not really one of those, but I do know when people are dropping on Fridays. You know what I mean? Or like somebody.
Where are they getting it on Friday? They're getting it online?
Online, Spotify.
On
Spotify.
Spotify. Okay.
So Spotify or Tidal, all those streaming services. Not YouTube. We don't go to YouTube for music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no YouTube, no iTunes. Not like YouTube is for music videos. If I want to watch a video, I'll go to YouTube, right? iTunes, no way. Like we're like we don't. So with Spotify, I'm paying a streaming. I pay what you're paying, like $10 a month or something, right? Yeah. Once you pay that, you have access to all the music. So all of our music is coming straight from streaming services.
That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting because, there's a fast, like a growing digital penetration in Zimbabwe, but you find YouTube still plays a big part, even in terms of distributing audios. Some of these free data file sharing host or SoundCloud, as well as, but WhatsApp like really leads. A song is released, you find it circulating on WhatsApp in groups. And it's quite an interesting trend. I've written it. Yes.
I need to get on WhatsApp, man. What am I doing? I'm on it. I'm on WhatsApp, but I don't distribute music. I've never really thought of it like that. Like I'm on there and people always hit me up. I don't know who they are, but they hit me up and they're like, "Yo, is this Draze?" And I'm like, "Yeah, who is it?" But that's dope. I mean, to me, you always want to be able to distribute music in different ways too. You don't always have to stay America's not right. You know what I mean? We're not doing it better than anybody else. We're just doing it different. And so maybe that might be a good way to do it. I will say WhatsApp is really good for when I'm working with artists in Africa. That's how we share music until it's time to record. When it's time to record, obviously we have to email files and stuff. But I'm saying, I'll say, hey, we're talking about them being on a song or working together on something. We just share the song. It's really quick on WhatsApp, so I like that. So
great. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's really been great. I mean, speaking to you. I would want to continue this conversation. I would want to hear more. But I know you've got an album that's coming up soon, and we should be able to touch base when that album drops and give the viewers and the listeners a chance to experience that album. Um, from your songs, off the top of your head, which song would you say resonates the most with your homeland, Zimbabwe?
You know what's interesting? It's not what I want to resonate, it's what does, right? There's this song I did called Nice to Meet You.
Okay.
And the song is about me meeting a girl. I'm like, it's a Christmas song. So I meet a girl and she's trying to carry her Christmas tree up into her
Yes.
house.
Yes.
And I kind of, I help her with the Christmas tree, right? And before you know it, she lets me stay, and we end up sitting down having a drink, and we're having a good time. And midway through the song, she kind of asked me, "Well, do you have a girlfriend?" And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I do have a girlfriend, right?" And so
Yeah.
she starts asking these questions, and I go through this metamorphosis where I'm like thinking, I'm like, snap, like, you know what? This is cool, but I really like my girlfriend and I gotta go. So it's like, nice to meet you, right? It was good meeting you, but this can't happen, Shotty.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go down this lane tonight. And
Yeah.
so interestingly enough, I've probably gotten more people hit me about that than anything. DJ Moxie on what is it, Star FM always hits me
Yeah.
about.
Malls. Yes.
Yeah, he hits me about this other song that he wants me to give him. Um, it's
Great.
called Ready. I did it for a commercial for Speedo, right?
Okay.
I did that, and he always asked me like, "Yo, give me that song," and I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Uh, so I'm gonna probably give it to him one day and just let him, let him have some fun and play it. But yeah, but a lot of it has. I mean, I'd be surprised. I did a song called Seattle Sweeties, and
Yes.
people out there like, hit me singing this song. I'm like, yo, y'all feel Seattle Sweeties? That's dope. You know what I mean? So, um, I think my music tends to resonate with Zimbabweans because Zimbabweans love real music, and I'm gonna always create something that feels authentic, real. Um, you'll be able to hear it'll be very different than other music hip hop you're hearing. Most of the time you're like, yo, this is different. And the reason why is I can't get away from the beautiful melodies and harmonies that
Yes.
I'm accustomed to from our people.
Great, great. Yeah, I mean, awesome, awesome. And I think people that are watching would definitely want to just get even a small sample from you, just maybe a small freestyle sample, just to sort of psych them up ahead of the album that's coming later this year.
Well, you want a freestyle? Okay, Skype.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever you can drop, one or two, three, four lines, 10 bars, 16 bars.
What can I do? Let me see. Okay. I was born on this hip hop ish. Two turntables and mic. Yo, let's get it. Boys lip syncing they songs. This thing is different. Dudes really wifing these strippers, man. I don't get it. I just SMH and stay in my lane. Meanwhile, Big and Pac turning over in their grave. Like these can't be the ones that came from messing with the Luther. And these can't be the kids that Whitney said was the future. Iron sharpens iron. Lion breed lion. Pops was a freedom fighter. What you think that I am? Prophesying the end of this thing like a Mayan. The way forward is back. Now I'm trapped in this generational gap. So I came with this ancestral art. Like that stuff in Nas' head, I'm just trying to do my part. I've been Christ with it. Y'all just getting on me. I'd have popped in '04 if I took that dope money. Wait, shout out to the singers bringing R&B back. I'm tired of sexing to them old school tunes and young raps. Like John Henry, I lay on them tracks. I only got one seed. My pull-out method is mean, boy, facts.
Wow, wow,
I,
awesome, awesome. Thank you
I,
so much, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy man, and it's an honor to actually have you. This means a lot in terms, especially to Zimbabwean, to Zimbabwean MCs, Zimbabwean artists, and the hip hop scene in Zimbabwe, from the b-boys, the beatboxers, the graffiti artists, the DJs, as well as the MCs, because the culture in Zimbabwe is really growing, and I think this kind of inspiration, this is something that they really need to hear and connect with somebody who's working from an industry that is functional. And thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Your last word to, not really your last word, your word to your fans or people that love your music and Zimbabwean MCs.
Yo, man, keep rocking with me, man. Like, please go check out Building Black Wealth. The song is on YouTube right now. It's on Spotify. All of the streaming services have it. iTunes, if that's where you get music. Go share it in your WhatsApp group. I just learned that today, right? Don't do that. But yeah, man, go listen to Building Black Wealth and listen to this sound that I'm creating. Stream my other music. And I'm trying to work on coming back to Zimbabwe soon when the album drops. So be on the lookout for that too. Got to come home, do a show, the whole nine, man, and get at me. You know, I'm online. Get at
Yeah.
me. I'm online.
How can they connect? How can they connect with you? I know your YouTube channel is the Draze Experience, but how else can they connect with you?
Instagram. On Instagram, it's the Draze Experience. If you're on Facebook, you just get at me at Draze, Draze. You can get at me on all of those. Twitter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At Draze Experience. So I'm on all of those. I'm active. It's really me. You know what I'm saying? It's really me. I don't got somebody back there
Yeah.
pulling the strings and stuff like that. So we're dope though. Like we just finished the Building Black Wealth. I know I just checked it. We released it like 2 weeks ago, and we're at about 200,000 views now. So we're
Yeah.
rolling. You know what I mean? It's accumulating, and there's people all over the world like, yo, what's that instrument? What is that? Is he playing that? What, you know what I mean? So this is our culture. So I'm repping for y'all, man. Let's do this.
Great, great. Definitely on the next program that we're going to have, I would want to touch more a bit on the building black wealth. I think it's a very important subject, especially for the younger generation to really understand and appreciate what it means to build black wealth, you know, and create a knowledge legacy and pass it on from generation to generation because there's sort of a disconnect. And I'm actually happy that you're coming from um, that legacy, the Maraire legacy, you're carrying it on through your music. And thank you so much, Dress, for this opportunity.
I gotta send one shout out to all the Maraires, all the Chioras. I love y'all, man. God bless. Peace.
Thank you so much, man.
All right.
That was Drez. I was speaking there to Drez, and thank you so much to everybody who's been tuning in. This is earGROUND, New Voices Amplified, where we speak to artists from Zimbabwe, but also those that are living within the diaspora. And with a very profound conversation, we touched on music, tradition, we business, streaming, and a whole lot of things. You'll be dropping an album later this year, an album that he promises is going to be a major, product that is offering so much rich, diverse Zimbabwean sound, and he promises that there are also going to be some great features on that album. So I'll be giving you all the information on earGROUND on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel. We'll continue to speak to you until next time. New Voices Amplified. My name is Blood. Sign out.
Peace.
So yeah.